yourself, always get
Hey y'all, I'm Cammie.
I'm Shan.
I'm Jelani.
I'm Julia.
And we are
The Sex Ed Loop.
We're a sex positive group for youth, by youth at the Illinois Caucus for Adolescent Health. We are in partnership with the Chicago Public Schools in order to increase your access to comprehensive sexual health information. We do this through blogs, articles, and health tips. Thanks for joining us today.
So today at the Sex Ed Loop, we have a special guest here with us. Her name is Dr. Rachel Ross. She's a local medical doctor, sexologist, and went to the same school that I attend, Morgan Park Academy. She's here today to help us answer some sexual health related questions. Welcome, Dr. Rachel.
So I'm Dr. Rachel, and I'm here with Sex Ed Loop, and I've got all your questions answered.
So Dr. Rachel, we get a variety of questions from our Sex Ed Loop friends, and many of them have been asking what things they should consider when they're thinking about becoming sexually active. What would you recommend?
First of all, the big question I want you to ask yourself is, are you ready? Is this person that you're about to give this part of your body to, is this person even worth it? Okay, those are the first two things that I want you to think about. And then the third thing I want you to think about is, why are you doing it? Now, is it because you're curious and all your friends are doing it? If so, that's not a good reason. Is it because that you're so in love with this person that you two want to share something? And where is this energy coming from? And then once you figure out why you want to have sex at this particular point, I want you to figure out, is it worth it? Because once you do it, there's really no turning back. Alright, so those are the emotional things I want you to think about, and of course, I've got to spend some time on the sexual health things that you want to think about too. First of all, has your partner been tested for any of the sexually transmitted infections? Have they had an HIV test, gonorrhea, chlamydia, trichomonas, and have they ever had herpes? So the only way for you to know this is to ask them. If you two can't have these types of conversations, if you're afraid to ask them, if you're afraid to ask, do you have condoms, if you're afraid of all these things, you might not be ready, you might not be as ready as you think you are. So that's the first thing you want to ask. Then when they say, yeah, I just got tested last week, say, fantastic, let me see that paperwork. Because you and I both know that some people will make stuff up. So you want to see the paperwork or see the results of this STI testing. Then the other thing you want to think about is, where is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? Do you really want your first time to be in the back of an abandoned building? I mean, come on now. We all love each other, and I hope you respect yourself even more than that. And then the next thing to think about is, do you have any contraception available? And the kind that I want you to focus on is condoms. Condoms are the only barrier form of protection. Even if you're on the pill, even if you're on the shot, even if you've got some form to keep you from getting pregnant, I want you to think about preserving yourself and making sure that you do not get an infection in this process. I also want you to keep in mind that even with condoms and barriers in place, you still can get sexually transmitted infection. You want to plan it out, do it right so that you don't end up with any sexually transmitted infections or an unwanted pregnancy.
Awesome, that's great to know. So my next question has to do with doctor's visits. You know, it isn't all that comfortable for us to talk to our doctors. So how would you recommend I approach my doctor if I wanted to get an STI screening?
So first of all, your doctor is supposed to be someone that you can trust. So it's no big deal for you to take some time to ask your doctor, hey, can you give me some private time so that I can get tested for the sexually transmitted infections? Now I know that most of you don't want your parents to know. Some of you have parents that are cool enough that you feel like you can talk to them. But once your parents sign off on the documents, you have what's called patient-doctor confidentiality. That means that without your permission, the doctor cannot tell any adult, I don't care who they are, what's going on with you. So once you get that paperwork signed and once you and your doctor have formed that particular connection, go for it. Tell them, be honest. Say, I'm either sexually active or I'm thinking about doing it and I want to get tested. Go from there. Knowing is half the battle.
In terms of young people questioning their sexuality and don't know how to tell their parents, do you have some pointers that you could share?
This is a great question, and there are Hundreds of thousands of you dealing with the same thing. And it's a question about sexuality. How do I tell my parents that I'm struggling with my sexuality? That's a big one. I also want you to keep in mind the idea that you're young and your sexual experiences at this age aren't necessarily a whole lot of your parents' business. So if you and your parents do not have that type of communication where you can talk to them, find an adult who you can. Maybe it's an aunt, maybe it's a teacher, or maybe even it's your counselor. The whole concept here is that, hey, we know that parents have very conservative ideas about things and they just might not get it. Be confident enough in yourself that you get it. And you might need to go through another adult first before you have the confidence to even present it to your parents. Everything is a growing process. But keep in mind that you're as special as can be and that there's nothing to worry about. Just move forward with it, all right?
So another question we get is about the use of contraceptives. People are wondering, what is Plan B?
Plan B is exactly what it sounds like. It is intended to be used as a backup plan. Plan B. You know, have a Plan A and a Plan B. Your Plan A should be your primary form of contraception, which hopefully includes condoms. And then Plan B is a backup plan. It is not a form of birth control, and it is not a form of an abortion. What it actually does is it prevents a process called implantation. It doesn't abort a pregnancy. It's not anything like that. It basically keeps you from getting pregnant. And that is why it's not something that's supposed to be used every month as a form of contraception. It is supposed to be used as an emergency backup plan.
So Dr. Rachel, thanks so much for coming here today and being with us. We really appreciate it.
For more information about sexual health facts, events in Chicago, and to receive our free weekly text, check us out on Facebook under the Sex Ed Loop. Follow us on Twitter at Sex Ed Loop. And to subscribe to our text Sex to Loop to 61827. We hope to hear from you soon.